The Trump audio has been released. This audio, supposedly the most damning piece of evidence that we've ever seen in this historic case of Trump wrecking America. And we're going to go through this in great detail because I think it's really much ado about nothing, kind of a large nothing burger. Not even sure it's in the indictment. It's a charged offense, which we're going to break down. But the left is very excited about it. In fact, if you turn your attention over to Twitter, you'll see that all over the place. This is it. This is the nail in the coffin. Trump is done. There's no further, blah, blah, blah. The same crap basically we've heard every year for the last half decade. Same type of thing. We'll hit the highlights on exactly what their reaction looked like. And then we're going to break down why they're wrong. So we are going to listen to the audio. Where did this audio come from? On this channel, we've spent a lot of time talking about the protective orders that have been ordered against Trump. Trump can't even so much as take his notes home with him. He can't take the police report, any discovery with him. If he goes to his attorney's office and takes notes about what he read, can't even take those home. That's how strict the protective order is against him. But in this case, we have entire audio files leaking out. What? It's not like somebody at Jack Smith's office just called CNN and said, hey, the audio is pretty bad or something. It's a phone call. It's physical hard evidence. Somebody sent an email, put it on a thumb drive, sent it in a CD-ROM. Who knows how it got out, but it's a problem, is it not? If Trump was in violation of his protective order, he would be held in contempt of court, or an order to show cause would be issued. He'd have his butt dragged in there, scolded, explain how this got out from your counsel's office, blah, 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 and then maybe held in contempt, or his attorneys could be sanctioned for it. But when DOJ leaks, no consequences. And CNN is not even telling us how they got it. Before we listen to it, here's the background. This was an exclusive, and it's always very convenient how they drop this stuff right when Biden's in the middle of a strong headwinds. In this case, IRS whistleblowers, one after the other, coming out and confirming what they were involved in. So CNN conveniently publishes this one. Exclusive obtains audio tape of Trump's 2021 conversation about classified documents. They say CNN has exclusively obtained the audio of the recording of the 2021 meeting in, here it is, Bedminster, New Jersey, where Trump discusses holding secret documents he did not declassify. We're going to break all of this down. But Bedminster, New Jersey is not Florida, where he's being charged. So that would be like robbing a store in New Jersey and then being charged with a crime in Florida. That's not how that works. Now, when we were reading through this, we were thinking that this was part of a transfer of a document. Maybe he had possession of the document in New Jersey and then transferred the document back down to Florida. And so that's possession and transfer across. This could be a whole different set of charges that come from that. But the point is, we got to make sure that the criminality that they're alleging that happened in this audio recording matches what is actually being charged. It's got to be listed in there as the charge. What is the criminal conduct? Where is the criminal conduct located? And then how does that translate into a filing that we can identify? They got to match. You can't just have, abstract criminal charges out there that don't show up in the indictment somewhere or vice versa. The facts of reality have to be translated into the document. But if this is an audio recording that was a meeting in New Jersey, well, that's not Florida. Let's see. The recording, which first aired on CNN's Anderson Cooper, includes new details from the conversation that is a critical piece of evidence in Jack Smith's indictment, including a moment when Trump seems to indicate he was holding a secret Pentagon document with plans to attack Iran. And we'll go through it, so we'll listen to the audio. But the audio recording comes from a 2021 interview Trump gave at his resort for people working on a memoir of Mark Meadows, right? We got questions about who recorded this. So it came from an interview Trump gave. But does that mean that the recording came from the interviewer? Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, was there, and people are speculating that Meadows was the person who actually flipped on Trump. The special counsel's indictment alleges that those in attendance, a writer, a publisher, and 2 Trump staff members, were shown classified information about the plan of attack on Iran. The episode is one of 2 referenced in the indictment where prosecutors allege that Trump showed this material to other people who didn't have the clearances. Now, CNN has previously reported that Trump at the time was furious over a New Yorker article about Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, that said Milley argued against striking Iran, and he was concerned that Trump would do it. So Milley, on his way out, is saying Trump's a maniac. He just caused an insurrection. He's going to attack Iran and all this stuff. In the audio, we'll see Trump is showing that the document was prepared by Milley, delivered to Trump, almost to encourage Trump to attack Iran. Trump's campaign spokesman says it proves Trump did nothing wrong at all. And as we see, we go through this, they're giving us a rehashing of the indictment, but we're not seeing any sourcing of the audio. All a transcript, but no sourcing of the audio. Where'd they get this from? From the journalist who was doing the memoirs on Meadows? Probably not. I would imagine that this leaked from the DOJ, and the question is where and why and how. So it's curious. Now, we also have the Trump indictment because the audio recording is detailed in this indictment. They tell us on July 21st, when he was no longer president, Trump gave an interview at his office at the Bedminster Club. That's New Jersey. Remember, this case is filed in Florida to a writer and a publisher in connection with the forthcoming book. 2 members of the Trump staff also attended the interview, so questions about who those people are. Andrew Weissman and others have ideas, which was recorded with Trump's knowledge and consent. Before the interview, the media had published a report that Trump's senior military official, that's Milley, feared that Trump would attack Iran. Official advised Trump against doing so. That's according to Milley. Trump says no. Trump says Milley basically gave him the attack plan and said, go for it. Upon greeting the writer, publisher, and 2 of his staff members, Trump stated, look what I found. This was Milley's plan of attack. And then the audio picks up. So they give us this transcription. We know there's a writer who says something, a staffer says something. We know there's a ... here. So was stuff, cut out? Is that a page section? We don't know if there was editing done on this audio. We also don't know what the chain of custody looks like with the audio. So we'll go through it now with all of that pointed out so that we have some background. Here is what it sounded like when CNN broke the story, taking what I imagine is illegally leaked evidence and publishing it on their so-called news station.
You have obtained what is expected to be a central piece of the government's case against Donald Trump.
We'll see.
The actual audio recording of the former president talking as if he's showing a highly classified document on U.S. war plans against Iran with people not cleared to even know it exists, let alone what's in it. In a moment, only on CNN, you will hear what jurors will hear one day. The recording was made 2 summers ago, July 2021, at the former president's club in Bedminster, New Jersey. You will clearly hear the former president as he is speaking to several people. According to the special counsel's indictment, they include a writer working on Mark Meadows' memoir, the publisher, and 2 of Trump's staff members. The president was aware he was being recorded. It is the first time it is being played publicly.
These are bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
Well, it started right at the
like
beginning.
when Milley's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in.
That's right.
Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Milley, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look.
Hear the audio?
This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him.
Wow.
We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look.
Okay, I want to pay close attention to this. Pages long. Look, right? I have a question about whether these 31 documents or what portion of those documents are all part of the same filing, the same binder. Is it a memo that has 12 pages on it, and is each one of those pages charged individually as a different crime? I don't know.
Wait a minute. Let's see here.
He's going through stuff.
Yeah.
I just found. Isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case,
Totally wins my case.
Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time,
Yes.
she'd send
Private
it. No,
email.
she'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert.
Pervert.
By the way,
Please
isn't
print.
that incredible?
Please
Yeah.
print.
I was just saying because we were talking about it, and he said he wanted to attack Iran and what. These are the
You
papers.
did. It's pretty
This was done by the military, given to me.
They did it.
I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify.
figure out
it. See, as president, I could have declassified
Yeah.
it. Now I can't, but this is
Yeah,
classified.
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so. Here and I have, and you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's
you.
incredible, right?
No,
Hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
More Cokes, please. We need some more Cokes in here. We're getting a little parched here. So bring some more Cokes in here as we talk about how General Milley was trying to frame me with Iran attack plans. All right. So he's got these documents out, and you can see where some people are latching on to different parts of this transcript, saying things like, this is highly confidential, except it's highly confidential. And we've got a rebuttal to this. I understand the point. It's him acknowledging, they say, the left, that he's recognizing that the status of this document is officially classified. and that he is now in illegal possession of those documents. I don't interpret it that way. I think it is technically a declassified document because it's Trump's document. We'll get to this. And it is marked classified. Of course, it is secret information. It is stuff that he's exercising his judgment about to not give out publicly. So, it's secret information, but it's mine and it is declassified. He's not saying these things, but this is the status of the document. And I'm sure it looks very scary. I'm sure it's a scary document. In fact, you can hear people go, oh my gosh, look at it. It's a tech. It's like, it probably says like, attack Iran by Donald Trump. And he's like, the hell is this, Millie? Don't put my name on this. This is not mine. So it's multiple pages, and this is the big audio. This is the big reveal. There's a lot of people on Twitter, the usual suspects, the people you'd suspect. They say that Trump is now dead to rights. Have we ever heard that before? I feel like it's deja vu or something here again. After the incredibly damning tape of him showing off the secret docs. I think it's pretty damning to Hillary that she would just print things, and he kind of mocked Anthony Weiner in there, and he blasted Mark Milley and the deep state for wanting endless war and trying to smear him and frame him for something that he never did. So this is how Mediaite frames it. And they've gone through and they've got a long list of the people on Twitter who are just very excited about it. And you can see some of them are here, including George Conway. George Conway said, if the defendant Trump doesn't go to prison for at least 5 to 10 years, it would be a travesty. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton goes free. Her people smashed their phones with hammers and then used deletion software to delete all of their evidence. Prosecutors have him dead to rights in more ways than we can count. Well, we're going to ask if you can count at least one of them. How do you show that that is a Florida crime? Is it even in the indictment? We'll look at it. We've also got Ryan Goldman. He says the defendant, in his own words, is narrating his crime. We've got Adam Kinzinger, who's usually crying somewhere in America. He says it's just stunning to hear it. It's just stunning. We've got Asowin, who says, I wish I loved doing anything as much as Trump does, saying incriminating things. Just an absolute addict. Jackie Heinrich, and so on, right? You get the gist of it. Rick Wilson says damning as hell, because they don't like the guy. But we've got questions about how this translates into criminal charges, because it's something that they've got to prove. And so we've got a lot of questions about it. Before we dig into the major foundational problems that I think really make this audio largely irrelevant, is the baseline of the theme of this case. Criminal cases and other cases, we often have themes in the case. What's your theme? It's this guy didn't murder the person, that guy did, right? Or whatever, it's a lover's quarrel. You come up with some, fancy theme and you take it. This theme is these documents were labeled classified. This is one part of a theme. Labeled classified, but were technically declassified, all right? In other words, it looks scary, but it isn't. All of those oohs and ahs, like it looks scary, but it isn't. These are documents that have a bunch of markings on them. They're just stamps. They're old, antiquated, declassified documents that look scary, but they're not classified. Now, in criminal law, we always start with the presumption of innocence. Everybody starts there, which means we start at zero. Trump is completely innocent at this moment. Now, I know nobody will give him the benefit of the doubt, but that's how the law is supposed to stand here. And when somebody starts there at the presumption of innocence at base layer 0, we have to talk about the burden of proof. And the burden relies on the government. It lays on them. Trump doesn't have to disprove anything. So when it comes to this audio, not only do they have to show us that the audio is authentic and legitimate, recorded legally, and that it wasn't tampered, and the chain of custody is appropriate, and all of these things, but they've got to do that for every single element of this criminal charge, not just the audio, everything. And the burden is not on Trump to disprove it. They have to prove it. When we zoom out on that, those are the two foundational concepts here. We also have this idea of the separation of powers, and the idea that executive power in this power battle that we have is supreme over congressional power. Congress created this Presidential Records Act by statute, not by constitutional amendment. So Trump's original claim to executive power supersedes that. Otherwise, we would exist in a topsy-turvy constitutional framework where Congress, by statute, could regulate the root power that is entrusted to the president as literally the commander-in-chief, which is the entity that governs military documents. So if there was a movement of the documents, whatever the status was, Trump ultimately declassified them de facto. The fact that he moved them and retained them as the president, as the commander-in-chief, that power cannot be limited by Congress's statute. If they wanted to put powers over confidential documents or something that the president absolutely had to follow, they should amend the Constitution and write it in there. Now, the fact that other presidents haven't challenged this in this way before is okay as president. precedent, but Trump shatters these precedents. And so this is all a new and novel theory of law. And complying, if that was not the truth, if Trump had to comply with a formal declassification procedure, then that would necessarily imply that Congress can usurp the presidential power. That's why none of this makes sense. And so I'm looking forward to hearing more about this argument as it unfolds. And that is just the starting point. When we look into this audio recording, we also know that there are some other serious foundational problems here. The most obvious is that this was not recorded in Florida. The crimes alleged in the indictment all occurred in the state of Florida. How do we know that? Well, it's because they tell us. And that's because that's how jurisdiction works. You can't commit a crime in Texas and then charge somebody in New Hampshire unless it crosses state lines, unless it invokes jurisdiction in federal courts that can tie the two jurisdictions together. How do we know? We scroll down all the way to the different count. Look, counts 1 to 31. Willful retention of national defense information. We know the audio was recorded in Bedminster, New Jersey, so the possession of that document obviously can't be in this filing, because here they say on or about the date set forth in the table below. Guess where? Palm Beach County. Is that in New Jersey? I don't think so. In the Southern District of Florida or elsewhere, the defendant, Donald Trump. You see this right here? Southern District of Florida. That's where the willful retention happened. What he was waving around in New Jersey, but unless that document came back to Florida, that is not even charged here, because this is only about the Southern District of Florida. All of these counts are all about the Southern District of Florida, that he had control over documents related to national defense. And we don't know exactly what that document is, even if that document is in this table. Is it? I don't know. I was scrolling through this earlier and I thought maybe it's this document number 20. This one, January 20th, August 8th, top secret, Orcon, no foreign, an undated document concerning the timeline and details of an attack in a foreign country. I would imagine that's Iran. But what's curious about this is, are these just different pages? Are these different literal slips of paper? Because a lot of these other things are also undated. This one's concerning nuclear weaponry. This one's about military operations. This one's about military capabilities of a foreign country. So let's say, for example, you said, the military puts together their book report on attacking a foreign power. It's not just a single sheet of paper, right? It's gonna be like a binder of stuff. It's gonna be a pamphlet, a memo, something that's probably nice, probably costs, $15,000 just for the cover sheets in there, federal government budgets. So it's gonna be a bunch of stuff in there. So if he's flipping through a binder, is that all of these documents in that one note? This one, right? Because you can see almost about, it's like a compendium of information all stacking up. Here, this one, November 17, 2017, military capabilities. This one, updated document concerning military contingency planning. This one, pages undated related to regional military capabilities of a foreign country. So you could see this could be an Iran document, military capabilities of a foreign country, Iran, options of a foreign country and potential effects, military options. This is all probably the same thing. It's all probably an Iran binder. Document dated about policies in a foreign country. So that's like page 15, like page 1, felony. I'll be very curious to see about this. Page 1, felony. Page 2, felony. Page 3, felony. Page 4, felony. All of it working its way up. Document dated, foreign country support. Iran supports terrorists. Another felony for Trump. So do you see what this is? Like, Milley delivers a binder of felonies to Trump. Here you go. Hold on to this. We're going to charge you with the crime for every one of these. Document dated March 20th. Maybe you just slipped it in there on the way out. It's just one binder. Here you've got updated document regarding the military capabilities of foreign countries. And it's almost like the table of contents. You could say, what's Iraq doing, or what's Iran doing to support terrorists? All right, that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is going to be, what is their updated capabilities? Okay, chapter 3. What are foreign countries' capabilities? Chapter 4. What's our nuclear weaponry capability? Chapter 5. What's Saudi Arabia's response going to be? Military capabilities of them. All right, what's the Taliban that we left $80 billion of equipment going to do? Regional military activity of the Taliban in Afghanistan that Biden did a terrible job on. Okay, like literally, all of this could just be part of the same thing. Document dated about White House intelligence briefing related to foreign countries. Another undated document concerning military activity of a foreign country. Document dated about, same thing. It all could be related to the same dang thing. Like this whole thing could be an Iran thing, which I would imagine they've got to have possession of that then. And they might be alleging that Trump was waving this around at Bedminster, New Jersey, but this thing came back to Florida, and that's where the willful retention happened. And all of these dates are basically, matching up. You can see it's a very, very strange affair that's happening. Now, the other charges, which are not implicated by, well, maybe you could say this one was implicated, but this one, again, conspiracy to obstruct. Maybe Trump in that recording is conspiring, right? That's a conspiracy. We've got him dead to rights. Yeah, but he's not being charged for for that? Are they going to charge him in New Jersey for that? Because here, this says in Palm Beach County in Florida. That's where they conspired. They better charge him someplace else. The purpose of the conspiracy was to collude. Florida. Withholding is in Florida. We've got concealing a document in Florida, because this is how it works. So everything is taking place in Florida. This happened outside of Florida. I think Trump's attorneys are going to try to keep it out because it's not a crime that is alleged here. It may have happened, but it happened outside of Florida. So the government's going to have to show, and here's where they say in Southern District of Florida and elsewhere, right? And elsewhere, that Trump made false statements and representations. So it's going to be an interest. We're going to have a jurisdictional component to this. There's going to be a jurisdictional battle. So the entire audio recording that they say is now dead to rights for Trump, you go, it wasn't even recorded in Florida. We don't even know what document it is referencing. Begs the questions about what the other charges look like, and if they're all related to the same pamphlet, which would really make this even a much more minimal case, because it's like one document, not 300 boxes that they kept floating around all over the media. So we've got more questions about this. Now, the audio recording itself, if we zoom out, it was specifically recorded on what? Was it on an open device that was sitting out in front of Trump's residence? And they were all just talking into it. Was this a surreptitious recording where somebody was wearing a wire? We've got questions about the authenticity of it. We're going to hear Trump's response to this in another segment, but Trump says, I haven't even listened to it. So how do we know it's authentic? How do we know that they haven't added sounds to this? By the way, this didn't come from the DOJ. Even if it came from the DOJ, I would have a lot of doubts about it, but it came to CNN. And what the heck did CNN do with it? Where did they get it from? And who gave it to CNN? So we know that somebody clipped it, because they didn't just put the raw file out on CNN. Somebody must have cut it for time, limited it. They cut the first part of it out. They cut the last part of it out, because somebody didn't just press record and they got Trump in that 2 minutes. So somebody clearly adjusted the audio. They may not have manipulated it, but they definitely edited it. That's how it got online, and that's how it got on CNN's news station. So did they depress any of the audio noise? Did somebody go in there and just say, there's a lot of background noise, that air conditioner was running, so why don't we just turn down that a little bit? Did that happen? I don't know. Did they close up the time? Did they leave anything out? We've got questions about this thing being rendered by AI. Trump is not going to listen to it or confirm it. He's never going to say, oh, that was me. Just don't listen to it and never respond to it at all. He'll get asked, never listen to it, but I never broke the law at any moment in time. The reason I pointed out these two base layer principles is that the burden of proof lies with the government. They've got to prove all of those other things, right? They've got to authenticate it and verify, validate it. And that will be something that we'll continue to ask questions about. We also have questions about who recorded it. Did Walt record it, or was this somebody? And the person who was recording this, did they have personal biases? Are they Trump fans? Presumably they're in the room. Were they pressured by the feds? Did anybody take a plea deal? Was anybody under the microscope of federal prosecutors saying, go in and record this, and if you do, we'll give you a better plea deal? Was this person recording granted immunity? Who was the staff that was there? Was it the journalist? We don't know. And even if that person does testify about a crime that is not even alleged in the indictment, unless they've got possession of that document, can they confirm that and validate that it was classified and not just marked classified? No, of course not, because they're not credentialed to do that, presumably. That's the entire argument that the left is making, is Trump is showing these things to people who are not credentialed to see it.